What's your number 10 album?
Oh, mine? Yeah. So, my number 10 album is The Nexus by Amaranthi. Yes, it is. You know, this band, it's weird. They're like a combination of melodic death metal, metalcore, symphonic metal, power metal, and pop, in a way. And it kind of works for them. Oh, nice. And, you know, this album's just enjoyable to listen to. I really like this. Like, that's where I base a lot of the songs. If the albums give me good feels, then I'll put it on the list. And this album gave me good feels. Like, some of it gets kind of repetitive after a while, but I like the combination of the female vocals and the male vocals and the power metalist style and the scream vocals as well. And when they do get creative, like, it's awesome. Some of the guitar solos are some of the best I've heard all year. From I forget the guitarist's name, but it's also really cool because it's weird. A couple of times they get almost kind of genty with their breakdowns, and it's kind of cool. So I mean, this album just is slams. So it's my number 10.
I had Bring Me the Horizon, Sempiternal for my number 10 album. I finally decided to come around to this. As annoying, terribly annoying as the fans are, just my opinion, I'm not all about idolizing people like countless fans will do with this band. You know, they're heroes, I idolize these people, oh my gosh, they replied to me on Twitter, I'm gonna, you know, talk about for like, it made my life or whatever. It's annoying. I don't like that. And it's hard to not associate that with this band. But, you know, because it's everywhere. But I decided to get past that and give it a deserving spot on my top 10 list. I've had a love-hate relationship with this album for most of the year because I'll go on these, you know, binges of it. Like, yeah, this is good. This is a good album or whatever. And then somehow I come across something on the internet where some ridiculous fan ruins it and just shatters it to pieces. I'm like, so annoying. But I decided to give it, you know, my number 10, this number 10 spot because it is a good album. I'm glad Bring Me the Horizon has kind of ditched that whole party metal sort of thing they've got going on. And they've written some good, you know, chord-based, some, you know, decent songs that are good to listen to and stuff. And you don't always want to jump around or whatever and drink to them. It's good, you know, quality music in my opinion.
Number 9, I have Pulse by Diamond Plate. This album's, at least compared to the last one's, kind of weird. In some ways, it's a step up from the last album, but then in other ways, it's a step down. This album has, this album actually has clean vocals every once in a while, which I don't recall off the top of my head there being a terribly large amount of on Generation Y. And it's like, the album's not balls out thrash all the time, which in a way is disappointing, but then they bring it out with such grooves. There's so much grooves in this album, and it's awesome. You know, Walking Backwards is an awesome song, and then Face to Face, you know, Dance with Reality. I think there's another one. I think it's called Rainmaker, or something like that. But like the album's just great. You know, the drums are spot on. They're thrashy. You know, Conrad does great on the guitar work. I think he's the only guitarist now. And the solos are, you know, what you'd expect from a thrash band. And the vocals, they're different. And sometimes sometimes have a little bit of a problem with them. It's still cool. The vocalist does a good job. It's a good album. You know, I had a little bit more to expect from it, but it's still a great album.
I had, for my next one, Stray from the Path, Anonymous. You listen to this if you want to get mad about, you know, a lot of crap in the world, like consumerism and, you know, what the United States is becoming, I guess, and who we are as people, and just our backwards ass values and stuff like that. And, you know, with songs like Black Friday, it just, you know, it talks about some stuff like that. And at the same time, it goes into some, you know, personal stuff, like Scissorhands is about, you know, just something that people deal with in everyday life. You know, you lose a friend or something like that. Or the song Radio, which is a pretty cool song. And, you know, it's just a good album that speaks out against, junk. And as it may not be, it may not be as progressive, I could say, as some of their older stuff. I still dig it. I still dig that, the quality sound that they have, and baked beans.
Baked beans. I have The Dream Calls for Blood by Death Angel as my number 8 album.
Do you?
Yes. This album, Relentless Retribution was a good album. It just missed the thrash. It missed the balls-out thrash that you can almost kind of expect with a band like this. And this album brings it. There's a title track. It's easily one of my favorite songs from them. So is Left for Dead. And then, it was on my top 10 songs. They have the cover of Heaven and Hell, which I think is top. I just really like this album. I didn't know what to think about this album first, but it's grown on me over time. It's the thrashy album you expect from this kind of band. The vocals are good. I mean, I don't think they're as good as Relentless Retribution, but they're still good. Solos rip, and this band, I can't get enough of this album. I just keep listening to it over and over and over again. And I mean, it's one of those albums that I want to drive fast to if I'm listening to it in my car. And, that might be a bad thing, but then at the same time, it's not necessarily a bad thing. This album just rips. And, my number 7.
As long as you're being safe, Driving, you gotta be careful when you're driving now, because it's getting colder and stuff. So everyone watch out for that. But I have Norma Jean, the band, the album Wrongdoers, next. After this band has been around for 17 years, maybe not the lineup that they have now, but 17 years. And listening to this album, I feel like they are just as groovy and as raw as ever. And I'm glad that I finally started to get more into this band this year. Mainly from this album, I would say. It has a lot of groove. Like Hive Minds, if you listen to it later on in the song where that groovy part kicks in, it's just, it's you just want to stomp around and, it brings out the feral side of you. But then there are songs like Triffids that the chorus, or I guess chorus, the part where they're singing, whatever, chorus, I guess. It's so dang catchy. It just sticks in your mind. You want to listen to just the chorus over and over and over and over and over again. That's what happens with Triffids for me. And even the title track, Wrongdoers, it's very catchy, and it's not like a lot of other bands, in my opinion, where it's just a bunch of nothingness and then a catchy chorus. It's some groove, and it leads into a good chorus, and then there's songs like If You Got It at 5, You Got It at 50, where it's just a wild song, and like I said, the groove from this band will just, release this type of, good vibe in you, and you kind of get mad, but at the same time, you just kind of want to have fun and be mad at the same time.
My number, 7 or 8? 7. My number 7 album is Deceiver of the Gods, Amon Amarth. Is it as good as some of their other albums? No. But I still really, really enjoy this album. The first 5 tracks on this album, I think, are phenomenal. Deceiver of the Gods is like a really good intro song. It was on my top 10 songs of the year. And it's that stereotypical Amon Amarth song with the really kind of epic chorus. And then it gets to As Loki Falls, which is, on the heavier side, and it's just really cool. The intro is heavy with the tapping, and then it gets to, again, stereotypical Amon Amarth. Father of the Wolf, which almost made my top 10 songs of the 2013 list. Kind of like old school, Guardians of Asgard in a way. And the song is just awesome. I just love the way that song flows. And it's one of my favorite songs from that album. And it's, I can't wait for the music video to come out because, they're taking forever to put that shit out. Oh god, Shapeshifter, which is like extremely heavy, and it's like just a brutal intro, and the song is just so good. And it's the same thing with Under Siege. Under Siege, that opening riff, I have a hard time comprehending that. It's weird, and I like it a lot. You know, other songs are really good. We Shall Destroy, you know, which in the middle part they have that riff that reminds me a lot of Thunder Kiss 65 by White Zombie, and then Hell, where there's, you know, actually they have clean vocals on, which is, you know, different from Amon Amarth. This album is just awesome. It's everything that I would expect from an Amon Amarth album, and I just enjoyed the hell out of it.
I have the album Accepted Speech by Dance Gavin Dance. I didn't think... I went to the store to look for, I'm pretty sure it was Russian Circles, and they didn't have any of their albums, like, anywhere, I don't think. And this guy redirected me to, for some reason, Dance Gavin Dance, and at the time I was like, I don't know, I'll just buy it, I guess. Just, you know, to give a band a chance, you know, which people should do more often. And listening to this album, it's a lot better. It's very surprising, and it's very good for an album I just bought. I have never really listened to anything from this band. The musicianship of these guys, the guitarist, the drummer, even the bassist, I'll throw him in there. It's just awesome stuff. It's really cool stuff. It really is. I was surprised by it. I've never listened to this band, and you know, these guys impressed me with songs like, hold on, I'm pretty sure it's The Robot with Human Hair, Part 4, it's a weird song name, but some of the stuff that they have, like, you know, riffs and these leads and these, you know, how do you say it, I don't know, these just guitar-y things that, these guys are very talented, and the vocals, I thought it was kind of cool how the screams, I guess. I never know what to call them. Screams. They sound like Shane from Silverstein. That was pretty cool because I dig Silverstein. And the singing sounded a lot like Kellen Quinn from Sleeping with Sirens, which was kind of weird. But it didn't sound exactly like Kellen Quinn. I kind of dug it, I guess. I mean, it wasn't bad. It's good enough to make number 7, but it was a surprising album. I thought it was pretty cool.
Number 6, I have 13 by Black Sabbath. You know, like, this is Sabbath doing what Sabbath does best. And it's being this bluesy, heavy metal. And they haven't missed a step from, you know, since the last time they made an album, which was Never Say Die. And, you know, there's God Is Dead, of course, which is, you know, again, on my top 10 songs of the year.
Who was the guy that wasn't in the band? The drummer, right?
Bill Ward.
Oh, yeah.
You know, without Bill Ward, but, you know, I mean, I guess it's okay. But, you know, there's God Is Dead's a great song. Age of Reason is probably, you know, one of the best songs on the album. You know, it's just a great, epic track. And the end of the beginning is another of just those standout tracks. And it's, you know, everything you expect. It's got Ozzy's haunting vocals to it. Tony Iommi's guitar tone that is just like satanic in a way, and it's just dark and evil. And then you've got Geezer, who's, you know, easily one of the best bassists ever, and he's just going to town. And then they got the drummer for Rage Against the Machine, who does a good job keeping it Sabbath. Nothing really went too, like, out there in terms of Sabbath, and that's what I really liked about this. And so it's just a really good comeback to a band that needed, you know, like, something to at least close out with, if not continue on with.
I had Black Dahlia Murder, Ever Black. It was a chunky album, and I think that's one of the best ways to describe it. Chunky with some excellent riffing, solos, drumming, especially after the departure of Shannon. Excellent drummer. I don't know his name, but shout out to the nameless dude that filled his shoes and is now the drummer. Trevor sounded as good as ever. Just a tight album. Very, very tight album from this band. And they've been a band for quite a while now, and they're still doing it. Still making it interesting. Songs like Into the Ever Black, heavy, Raped in Hatred by Vines of Thorn. A pretty cool song that, you know, sort of, I guess it was written kind of about Evil Dead pretty cool. It's cool how Trevor, you know, he writes about these cool things that I like to hear about, like, I don't know, like the actual Black Dahlia murder, or just a song about these beasts living under the ground or whatever that feed on humans and stuff like that, and like witches and stuff like that. It's just cool Halloween stuff that's like creepy, and you know, he makes it even creepier by his scream, if you can call it that. Ryan Knight, cool dude, wrote some cool stuff, but very chunky, riff-filled album, record, release, whatever.
Number 5, Skull by Evil. You know, this album is really good thrash album. It's, you know, the highest thrash album that I have on my list, and it's just a fun listen to. You know, it opens up with Underworld, which again is another song that I had on my top 10. It's just a great song. It's great thrash. This song made me realize that, I should look out for this album. And then a lot of other songs came on that were just really good. The title track, Skull, is just awesome. You know, Head of the Demons got that kind of pseudo-groovy riff, and it gets, you know, it's kind of weird, but it's cool. And the ending, like, just the way they end with the tapping and the guitar riff, and then just the way that the vocals, they hit the high note, or kind of highish note there at the end, is just awesome. Another song is The Naked Sun, is another really good song from this album. But honestly, the song that sold me the most on this album was Tomb, which is, you know, another ballad that they wrote. And it's so dark, so ominous, so depressing. It's just a great song. And then, like, halfway through the song, it gets kind of semi-thrashy, and it's just still dark and heavy, and it's depressing. And then the solo at the end of the song is just, it fits the mood so perfectly. Is it the greatest solo ever? Nah, but it's just fits so well. And if anything, that sold me to how great this album is. You know, the guitars and drums and all that sound perfect. It's everything you'd expect from a good thrash album. It's even gone farther than a good thrash album. It is a good metal album, I think. And that's the main reason why I stuck it at number 5.
I had Silverstein, This Is How the Wind Shifts. I think it's my number 1 album going into the half-year point. And it's kind of weird that it dropped back to number 5 by now. But definitely a good album. It's not like I can go on and say things, you know, like the riffs are cool, this part is like super heavy, or whatever stuff that I would usually listen to in music and, you know, really point out. I feel like it's just a good, well-written album. The lyrics are great. It's just good to listen to. You know, it's like I don't know how in depth I can go with it. It's the lyrics are good. You'll kind of relate to a lot of them. The songs are just jammy. A lot of chord based stuff, and when they do use, you know, they have some good sort of, you know, metalcore riffs. I guess is what you could call it, metalcore. Like in the song Massachusetts, that's one of their harder songs on the album. And then they have songs like California that's just kind of like jammy. It's almost like pop punk, you know? But not pop punk like, I don't know, new modern, like jump around, get all super happy pop punk, but good, you know, like, well, some of the songs kind of remind me of this bit of a Simple Plan influence on them, like, you know, good songs that aren't about, like, oh, you know, jumping around, too energetic, but just a good song, well-written song. I think Shane did an excellent job of not only screaming on this album, and that's my problem with screaming. It just feels so weird to say it anymore, like, oh, he did a good job of screaming. It's like I could say, oh, he did a good job of yelling or whatever, something like that. But I guess that's the accepted term, screaming. And singing is wonderful in this album, and everyone did a great job. The addition of Paul Mark was just stellar, and, you know, good job, all around good job. Great job.
Number 4, I've disarmed the set, Kill Switch Engage.
Do you?
I do. I really, really like this album. I didn't know what to think about this album first. You know, I was always I liked albums like As Daylight Dies really much. You know, it was just, and then, you know, I liked In Due Time, and then I sat down and I listened to the album a little bit more, and I honestly this might be blasphemy, but I almost kind of like Kill Switch Engage with Jesse Leach more than I do Howard. I don't know. It just
come on.
Now. I agree.
Thank you. I just like it. They're not the same band. This album, compared to like, I think in general, like just the stuff that I would listen to with Howard, this album kind of hits harder. I mean, yeah, there's the ballad in Always, but this album just hits really hard. The opening track, The Hell in Me, is, I think, one of the best opening tracks of all the albums that I have on my list, in my opinion. I just think it just kicks in and it's great. And I keep bouncing back and forth between whether In Due Time is my favorite album or a tribute to the,
To Fallen.
Tribute to the Fallen. Thank you, Tyler. That song is awesome. And it's weird because, like, again, I used to be all Howard, but this album just hits really hard. I think the riffing and the soloing is just top notch on this album. I just like the way Jesse sounds when he screams. And surprisingly, I like his singing. It's not as soulful as Howard was, but it fits because, they've kind of changed, the way they sound a little bit. So, that's why I love this album.
Next, I have Nick and the Seeds. Push the Sky Away is an excellent album. And you can watch my review on it, and I talked a lot about it. But, this album, I think Nick Cave is a master of presence. On studio or live, I haven't seen him live yet, I'm going to someday. But he's a master of presence. He demands your attention, and he gets it. But, at the same time, the Bad Seeds, they make the music truly come alive. Like, truly come alive. It's just absolutely crazy how they do it. Like, Higgs Boson Blues. I feel like I said that weird. Just an excellent song and a prime example of the Bad Seeds doing what they do best. Like, making the music, making you feel the music. Like, a lot of music nowadays is, it's all about the singer. Whether it's pop music, it's all about the singer. If it's metal bands, it's about being heavy, writing some cool riffs or whatever. And, it feels like I'm going back in time or something to the 60s where people would, feel the music, let it flow through, feel the vibes, true vibes from the music. And that's exactly what I get from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, especially with this album. And it may not be their best album, it may not be their, what am I thinking of? I don't know. It may not be their...
Magnum opus.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I couldn't think of it. But, it may not be that, but it's definitely a prime album. And, it's just groovy, and it's soulful, and it's a lot to take in, and it's good, man. Nick Cave is an excellent singer, too. I mean, lyric writing is, it's his...
Forte.
It's, I was just gonna say he's good at it, but yeah. I mean, it's Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. No one does it like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Number 3, I have Vengeance Falls, Trivium. At first, I kind of didn't like this album. I didn't like the way Matt Heafy's vocals sounded, and I thought all the songs sounded very the same. Tyler, you're in the shot!
Not anymore.
Is he?
No, not anymore. But... and then with, listening, because I listened to Strife, because I really like Strife. And then from that, I listened to Brave the Storm, and I listened to No Way to Heal, and Through Blood, and Dirt, and Bones. Just all the songs like that in this album. And I've grown to really get good feels from this album. It's not like Shogun, which it's musically pleasing to listen to, but it's just, I get good feels from this album. That's been my whole thing, is I get really good feels. Whereas they've sacrificed the songwriting of it. They've put really good riffs, really good parts. And some of it, there's usually a part where, Matt Heafy screams the name of the song over a breakdown in the middle of the song. I can kind of put it past that. I'm okay with that. All the songs work really, really well. And he's become a better vocalist. I think all around they've become better riff writers, and songwriters, and lyric writers. I just think in a lot of ways, this is a different Trivium. That's the one thing about Trivium. They sound different with every album, which not many people can claim that they can do. And so that's why this album's my number 3.
I thought the David Draymond kind of lost me on it. But that's just me. That's just me. good. It was not a bad album though. I had Russian Circles Memorial, band Russian Circles album Memorial. Definitely check these guys out. I don't see why more people do not know about this band than the people that do know about this band. They should have a wide audience. I mean, even if they're not going to be your favorite band, you should know about them. This album is an experience. It's not just an album. Like how I said in our top songs video, if you've watched that already, if you haven't, go ahead and watch it. I will close my eyes to this entire album, and each song has its own identity, its own story that it goes through, its own fantasia, if you will, of something that I'm doing, something that I'm watching, something that's happening, and it's almost like a soundtrack. It's crazy. With songs like 1777 and Ethel, they are just awesome. They're magnificent, and the just, quality songs. They are... I'm trying to think of something else to say. Oh, they're beautiful. They have a lot of appeal. They make me feel relaxed. And then there are songs like Deficit and I have Lebanon. I don't know if that's right. I'm bad with song names, but I have Lebanon. I'm not sure if that's right. If it is cool. But those songs are just, they have a groove. And Deficit is just evil. It sounds evil. I mean, like some big evil battle or something like that. And that's the cool thing about this. You feel the music with this. There's no singing aside of some guest stuff. The band itself doesn't sing, and you're forced to get into the music and you feel it. And like I was saying with Nick Cave, the music has its identity, and you can shake its hand, and it has a personality, and it's like another person, It's not just music that's playing or whatever, and it's a heavy moment. It's like poetry in motion.
Nice motion. Yeah. My number 2, I have The Mountain by Hawken. This album is really surprising me that I would actually enjoy this album as much as I did. I'm not usually one for progressive rock or progressive metal, but this album is mind-blowing. Really. It's really cool, from songs like Cockroach King, where there's like the weird vocal harmony, and then the guitars come in, and then it just goes all over the place. It just flows so natural. That's the one thing about this album. You could listen to you go on YouTube and you can find the full album thing. You can listen to the full album and just be fine. Like, just everything flows so well together. I think it's In Memoriam where there's like the kind of Gregorian chant type vocals where it's kind of like that. It's really cool, and it's just this band does whatever the hell they want, and it's awesome. They go, there's just it's not your regular band. Nobody does stuff like that, and it's really cool. Other songs, Falling Back to Earth, Part 1, The Rise and The Fall are both really cool. The Pareidolia, or however the heck you pronounce it, second to last track. That's another really cool song, I think. I just think, these guys are some of the most talented musicians I've seen, and just because that they can write this stuff, I can barely wrap my mind around it, whereas write something like that. I don't know, it's weird. And this album's almost number 1, but the only reason I really wouldn't put it at number 1 is that it's mostly just because it's progressive. I have to be in the right mood to listen to it. I can't just I'm going to put Hawken on. I mean, there's a couple tracks that I could just put on, but I can't just be like, I'm just going to listen to all of The Mountain. I can't just sit there. I have to be in the right mood to want to have my mind blown. I don't know. It's weird, but it's still, it's narrowly almost my number 1. But The Mountain, it's my number 2.
Devil Wears Prada 818 is my number 2 album. What?
I thought it would be 1.
Oh, no. I feel this album, they had anywhere to go after Dead Throne, especially after the Zombie EP. They opened up this new sound. I felt with Dead Throne, they established this heavy sound. This was the direction that they were going in. This is where they were going to go. And from that, I felt that they could go absolutely anywhere. They could add more melody. They could make it heavier, and they took it to such a good place. The album is still heavy. Songs like Martyrs and Gloom are some of the heaviest evil songs of this year, I think. Especially Gloom. Gloom definitely sets the tone for the song. The name of the song sets the tone for the song. Mike, after his performance on Dead Throne, I felt it was very solid. There didn't seem to be much of a crack in his voice. It didn't seem too lifelike. It felt very produced to me. Not that I didn't like it. I loved it. But it felt very produced. It felt very solid. But with 818, you feel the cracks in his voice. You feel the quiver. You feel the emotion, you could say, the character in his voice. Jeremy sings a lot better. I feel like he's finally learning how to sing. Not that he's bad before. I just feel like he's getting better. He's on the right path now. Dan did an excellent job drumming, but major shout out. I contribute a lot of this album to Chris Ruby, who, in my mind, is just a musical genius. I love everything he's done. He writes a lot of, from what I've heard, the skeletons of the songs, and everyone seems to fill it in a bit, but Chris Ruby is a guy that lays a foundation, it seems, and he laid an excellent foundation. With songs like Martyrs, with Sailor's Prayer, with Home for Grave, songs like, what am I thinking of here, Black and Blue, the songs are just catchy, they're heavy, they're perfectly where you want them, between catchy, melodic, heavy. It's just the perfect trifecta there. And Andy is just cool. He has one of the fattest bass tones that I've heard in music. He has such a fat bass. Who am I forgetting here? John. Major shout out to John for contributing to an album like James never has. He put some excellent feeling to some songs and some stuff, and major contributions to the feeling of this album. And I just think it was I just think it was a very good album, a nice step forward.
My number one album of the year is Ride the Void.
Ow!
By Holy Grail. This, to me, I like this album more than Hawking because this album really fits my music tastes perfectly. It's thrashy. It's kind of power metal-y, and then it's also got death metal influences in it. This album is just awesome. I have the track listing here for some sort. Bestial Triumphans, which is like the first song, which is a cool song. Dark Passenger, which is really, really heavy song. Tyler talked about it in the top 10 albums of the year. Bleeding Stone. Ride the Void, which is, in my top 10 songs of the year. I think it was number 2, if I remember correctly. Too Decayed to Wait. Crosswinds, which is probably my second favorite song. Crosswinds is just amazing. And Take It to the Grave. This album just kind of fits so perfectly. And the guitar sound is one of the best ever. It's heavy, but it's razor thin. It cuts hard, and it's crunchy. And then everything nothing seems out of place. If there's scream vocals, the scream vocals fit where they are. If they hit a high note, there's gang vocals. The gang vocals fit. And then just the sheer talent in this band, especially on the guitars end, the fact that they can basically harmonize any solo they want to is just mind-boggling to me. This band, I've seen them twice now. I'd see them 50 more times if I could. This band is just awesome. I can't wait to see more from them. And Ride the Void is my number one album of the year.
The best album of the year, in my opinion, I had the difference between Hell and Home for Counterparts. I didn't give this album such a good review back when I did. I don't know, I wasn't in the mood to review or something. I was just having an off day. But the more I've listened to it, the more I've noticed the little things that go into this album to make it so special to me. First of all, I'll talk about the music itself. I think some of the best music written this year, compared to any band, any genre, anything like that. where it may not be such an experience as Russian circles or explosions in the sky, or just a nice, hearty jam band like Norma Jean or Silverstein. But this album is very powerful. The progression that the musicians in this band, the progression in each song is so good. They keep the song moving along in the perfect way, the perfect transitions to each riff or every almost breakdown, but it's there for a second and it leaves and it just keeps going on. Some of the best melody that I've heard in an album this year, or the last 5 years, I don't know. Just some of the best melody, and some parts of this album are so just heavy parts where you just let a note ring out and it just sounds so deep and dark. And the musicianship of these guys is just, it's awesome. Very underrated guys, and very underrated musicians. The drumming was great too. Definitely a very energetic, emotional band, and the music definitely backs that up, I feel. The vocals, I think, are just absolutely great. I have no complaints about any of them. Brandon has such a strong voice, you could say. It has a lot of power behind it. It's not like the lowest low or whatever, or some ear-piercing high scream or whatever, but it has so much power behind it. And it's definitely an incredible vocalist. And the lyrics are very, very good, I think. Very personal stuff that's, you just respect. Even if you don't like them, you still respect them. But I mean, I think the lyrics were awesome. And I just can't get over how talented these guys are in Counterparts. Just the pure talent and musicianship of these guys. And they have that feeling of the current Wilcarius, but you can tell they've become new musicians. They've grown over time, and they've added these new influences, and just a better sounding album all around. And it's just, I don't know what they're going to do next. I mean, this is just such a good album, and I'm so happy with it. And it's definitely album of the year for me.
Cool. I think that's it. So yeah, I guess, tell us your albums of the year if you care enough. Why not? Bye.